YouTube, and we are streaming. We got the Chi-Town Expat Show coming up with your favorite host, Ron Harders. Very good.
We're making all kinds of noise.
Okay, I'm shutting her down. Get out of there.
You're all good? Did you want some water? A little small bottle?
A little small bottle.
Yeah.
I'll take one too. Right in there. Thank you, sir. You're so kind. All right, intro music is cued. We're connected.
Let's see, camera.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ron Harders, your host at the Chi-Town Expat Show. And I got a comment or a reading for you about the government wanting to disarm the people. And my comments on that will come afterwards. But anyway, this is a comment from the internet, and it starts out: the government wants to disarm the people simply because there are more people than government men, and government can't win if you don't give up your gun. And what game do they want to win? Well, they want control over you. When the resolution of enslaving America was formed in Great Britain, the British Parliament was advised by an artful man who was governor of Pennsylvania to disarm the people, that it was the best and most effectual way to enslave them. That was written by George Mason for the Virginia Ratifying Convention. When the gun grabbers are in full throat, I think of Soviet dissident Alexander Solzhenitsyn pondering on an armed citizenry in the Gulag archipelago, and how we burned in the camps later, thinking, what would things have been like if every security operative, when he went out at night to make an arrest, had been uncertain whether he would return alive and had to say goodbye to his family? Or if during periods of mass arrests, as for example in Leningrad, when they arrested a quarter of the entire city, people had not simply sat there in their layers, paling with terror at every bang on the downstairs door and at every step on the staircase, but had understood they had nothing left to lose and had boldly set up in the downstairs hall an ambush. The organs would very quickly have suffered a shortage of officers and transport, and notwithstanding all of Stalin's thirst, the cursed machine would have ground to a halt. Make no mistake that the elites are not coming for your guns because they don't like you skeet shooting. Yes, you will be restricted from purchasing a gun simply because it looks frightening. And a bunch of pointy-headed, intellectual, overeducated elitists will tell you it is not needed for hunting. But they are coming for your guns because government hates competition. And the liberty-loving armed individualist is healthy competition. Of course, There are those who want to convince you that each incremental step is taking away your right to bear arms in your own self-defense is reasonable. They often cite the Swiss as models of gun ownership. Many Swiss see gun ownership as part of a patriotic duty to protect their homeland. All men between the ages of 18 and 34 deemed fit for service are given a pistol or a rifle and trained. After they've finished their service, the men can typically buy and keep their service weapons. They just need to get a permit for them. Swiss authorities decide on a local level whether to give people gun permits. There are more than a few problems in Switzerland regarding guns, however. The first one is that there is a gun registry, or a log of each gun owner kept by the regions or cantons. Second, you cannot conceal carry there, and not all is happiness in Switzerland, despite what you're told. There is gun violence there. Most of it is the result of suicide by gun. This is similar to the U.S., as of the over 30,000 deaths from gunshots per year here. A majority, about 60%, are suicides. What Michael Bloomberg and the left-wing gun-controlled crusaders continually ignore is that guns and the availability of them are not the problem. The problem is a dysfunctional society with a culture of violence that they had a large hand in creating and allowing to fester. But if you are thinking of acceding to the gun grabbers' plans and are starting to think a gun registry of each owner is reasonable, Franklin Sanders of the Money Changer got it right when he wrote, "Owning guns is about having something to use against the government when they come to put your family up against the wall and shoot them. Ask the Russians, Germans, Chinese, and anybody else in the world. The only thing preventing total tyranny right now in the USA is that there are 300 million guns out there and the government doesn't know where they are." Now, how many guns? 300 million is probably a low number. Let's take a moment to hear out a former Special Forces soldier and blogger who cites the ATF's Access 2000 system. It's voluntary and has been kept since the year 2000, with manufacturers and sellers entering 252,443,229 unique gun serial numbers. Those are just the voluntarily recorded guns since 2000. The real total of all guns held by citizens in the U.S. is likely to be more in the 400 to 600 million range. That's twice as many guns as estimated by the mainstream media. Yet, though we've just doubled the number of actually existing guns held by the populace as opposed to the perceived number, still, the anti-gun lobby loves to pull out figures and statistics that it claims shows that America is the most violent place on the planet, saying that if guns were simply banned, America would be a crime-free utopia. And I'll say to that, hogwash. Gun statistics researcher B.J. Campbell points out that there is a statistically sound case that no clear relationship exists between gun proliferation and gun homicide rates. None. And there are no statistics on the number of 3D printed guns. How 3D printing can create an AR-15 or AR-47 is over my head. But my information says that 3D printing is being used to create AR-15s, AR and AK-47s that actually work without any kind of gun registration. Seems to me like this would be Bloomberg and company's worst nightmare. It could put powerful self-protection in the hands of everybody and their dog. The State Department has tried to block access to many sites that show you how to create these guns, but instructions are already on computers around the world. What to look for? Since they cannot stop gun creation, keep an eagle eye open for any attempt to establish national gun registration. This is a prelude to confiscation of guns of every kind. And I'll be back shortly in the next segment. Oh, Jesus, I can't open that.
You're clear. Let me get it.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you got 3 minutes. And as far as on YouTube, you're still, during the breaks where,
Oh,
it's kind of the behind the scenes. So people that watch on YouTube and, they can kind of get a different feel. So if you ever want to have anything for in between the breaks, that's up to you. Or I can even mute the audio during the breaks if you like. So it just depends on what you want.
okay. Well,
It's your show, your format, sir.
Okay.
I was throwing out a little. Do you have Facebook?
Pardon?
Do you use Facebook?
Not very much.
Yeah, it'd be good if you could set up your like a Chi-Town expat page on there and just share that. You can like share stuff on there.
Oh, yeah.
Instagram or helps to gain some listeners sometimes. So we're gonna be doing a lot of marketing for that.
Yeah, well,
station, so.
I'll be putting it out on MCRC.
Yeah.
And
Great.
also on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, I plan on making some postcards too. So when we go to events, like bigger, like this next time we have the big meeting, the yearly annual, statutory meeting.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have a nice big chunk to promote. So. I wrote this script for this, and it was fun to write because I was picturing my company because Warhorse. So I'm like, how could I tie that all in to marketing? So I figured, horse race,
Ah.
All right, we're about 10 seconds till we're back. Stand by. You're back.
Hey, we're back. I want you now to finish this up. Keep an eagle eye out for the end-around gun control with ammunition control. All they have to do is make ammo in short supply by buying it up. After all, the government buys what it wants with paper money that costs them nothing. The thought police can bankrupt every ammunition maker by making guns perfectly legal, but ammunition illegal, or impossible to get without, you guessed it, registering your purchase. I remember in years gone by that many people reloaded spent ammunition. This would be a great opportunity for you men out there who would like to learn a secondary trade for a post-collapse society. Also, buy a gun. Get trained in its use and practice. Practice, practice. Have a spare magazine handy for situations like this. Don't be a helpless victim. Now, while I do believe constitutional amendments are in fact constitutional, and Justice Stevens has every right to call for an amendment to repeal the Second Amendment, remember that the Second Amendment was not put in place for hunters or even for self-defense. It was put in place to protect Americans from totalitarians in government, like New York's Representative Gerald Nadler. He once told CNS News one of the definitions of a nation state is that the state has a monopoly on legitimate violence, and the state ought to have a monopoly on legitimate violence. If the premise of your question is that people are going to resist a tyrannical government by shooting machine guns at American troops, that's insane. Insane? Tell that to Solzhenitsyn. If the state has a monopoly on violence, that is full-blown tyranny. Americans would no longer be citizens, they would be subjects. Nadler revealed the endgame. Reducing murders is not the goal of the power elites. It's total disarmament. That would give the state the long-awaited monopoly on everything, and that amounts to slavery. Now, you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that the Second Amendment was put into place to defend all of the other amendments to the Constitution, to keep us free. And if we give that away in any way, shape, or form, we are looking to become as much a Russia as the elites would like us to be. And the elites want to do this because they think that they'll be the survivors. They will be the ones that wind up controlling everybody else. Except they'll probably be the first actually to go if there is any kind of a government takeover by the globalists. these people want to reduce the amount of people. There are 7 billion people in the world today, and they would like to see the amount of population of the world reduced to about 1 billion people. Now that's a lot of dead bodies. And all the ashes from the ovens will cover a lot of ground. Who's going to service all these billionaires and globalists? Who's going to be their slaves? Well, you can bet it's going to be the most uneducated, underserved people left on earth. And it'll be the useful idiots that go along with whatever the government wants to dictate to the people. So I want you to think very seriously about taking tongue-in-cheek to everything that the government and the Congress says. Look at what Trump has said, and look at what he's tried to do, and look who's been fighting him all the way. Not just the Democrats, but the Republican middle class, or moderates, if you will, who are nothing but Democrats in disguise. So it's time that we stood up and found good people, got people involved at the very grassroots level to make absolutely a big difference in this country. We have to give Donald Trump every bit of support we can, because without it, his life, his family's life, and those who are his closest supporters are in danger of losing their breathing ability. So the hatred that I see that is being perpetrated by the establishment and by the Democrats, you have to remember they thought that after 8 years of Obama that Hillary would be elected and they would be able to finally destroy the country. And then it didn't happen. And so now they have Donald Trump to worry about. And Donald is giving them plenty to worry about. And of course, they want every bit of what he does to be destroyed, and every bit of what they want to continue. So take a very close look at your candidates that are coming up for election in this year. And don't just listen to what they say they are, but look at what they have done if they are professional politicians, and see if you can't winnow out some of the lies that they're obviously telling us. So In any case, we'll see you in the next segment. And have a pleasant few minutes.
How long's the break?
Okay, we're clear. I was gonna tell you, man, I have an idea for today. I have a cable. I'm gonna go from the record out.
I tried that. It didn't work. It didn't work.
What did it do?
Nothing. It was like nothing comes out. I tried it with a straight headset because I was trying to do it to the Facebook. I tried straight headset. I tried multiple. I got a phono headset. I tried it with the phono. I tried it with the RCA3, and there's nothing coming out. That's why I was freaking. I'm like, there should be a
Well, I
simple
wonder if
solution.
that was.
Well, you
I'll
have
bet
the-
you it was going here because it was going to monitor.
Yeah, well, even the monitor like on my old one,
You got the
monitor here, it didn't come out.
song covering the
You're hearing it, but they're not.
oh,
Thank you though for that.
How long is the commercial? 1 minute? 2 minutes?
Yeah, the issue is the headphones get full blast, and here the output gets mixed. So it's pretty much you're monitoring, you know.
okay.
Thank you though.
Yeah, 'cause just the way you have everything like, because there's a monitor out there, but you're using that to go into here, or you got it dropped here. And I'm like, man, this is all confusing. Because see,
The reason
There's
why
more.
is because the mixer. So a better mixer would solve some of those issues.
yeah, because like
Because,
my Mackie, I have,
Yeah, you have a whole
12
row
outputs
that you
here.
can, you can separate and split them.
and I can do RCA inputs, I could do these inputs, and
Mhm.
yeah, I was looking at one that was just like mine. Mine was like $300, but I found one online. A guy selling it for $150. Because I was thinking about just building, get the angle, go over that guy's with the case, get a portable one,
Yeah.
and then set it up with my laptop, and that could be the mobile unit. And push that. That way we're not pulling stuff out of the studio. Set the studio up, leave
Leave
it.
it.
Do not mess with it. Because every time you start
No,
tearing
that's what I
stuff
want it to
down,
be. Is
Yeah.
Just set it, forget it.
because every time you tear it down, like
All right, we're on 15 seconds.
Hi, we're back. And there's going to be a kind of a nice event on May 5th at El Prado Park off of 19th Avenue in Phoenix between Southern and Baseline. And LD27 is putting on a kind of a Patriots in the Park so that Republicans can meet their representatives and learn about who's their precinct committeeman and learn how it is to be a precinct committeeman and maybe join in and become active in the party. That's the grassroots part of the party. And we'd all love you to come. And it's from 11 to 2 on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We're going to have food, a bounce house, and just lots of fun. And we hope that you can come and enjoy yourselves and learn something and learn about the party, learn about the Constitution, learn about the grassroots and our efforts and all of those things to make yourself a active member of the party, of the grassroots Republican Party. So we'll enjoy seeing you there, and I will remind you of that every time I'm on the air. So anyhow, we talked about gun control, and there's a lot of what I like to call useful idiots out there who have no idea about what has been pushed as a solution to these mass shootings. But they're all looking in the wrong place. They should be looking at the reports, the police. In fact, this kid in the last shooting was arrested over 30 times for violent stuff, and he was still able to go out and purchase a gun because the arrests were not recorded because they didn't want to screw up his reputation for college or whatever, or his jobs when he became an adult. And so he wound up under the radar and went off the deep end and murdered 17 people. But that had nothing to do with the gun. That had to do with his craziness and his inability to function as a normal human being. But the powers that be would like you to believe that the gun got out there and fired itself and killed all those people. And so if you just take away all the guns from all the people, then nobody will have a gun to fire, except the only ones that'll have the guns are the ones that won't turn them in, the ones that don't care, the ones that are criminally involved anyway are certainly not going to turn in their guns. And they're, just think about back in Depression, when, not so much Depression, but Prohibition. The only really, really bad guys who were bootlegging all the booze and running the taverns and the speakeasies and so on, they had the guns, they were the gangs, and the actual guys who just wanted to make a living and live their day-to-day lives, they didn't have anything to defend themselves with. So it became very easy for people like, what was his name? Al Capone, to build an organization that preyed on the innocent people around them. And it's another prohibition, for instance, is another way of the government controlling you. After all, drinking is bad, so we'll just prohibit drinking, and then everything will be all right. Well, obviously, we know that didn't work out. So then, after the prohibition was coming to an end, all these guys in all these narcs decided that they went to their boss and they said, well, prohibition's going to end. We're going to lose our jobs. We got to make something else. We have to prohibit something else so that we can continue to do this. And the first thing that they did was they made marijuana illegal. And the reason they picked on marijuana, because that was mostly used by blacks, not by white America, but mostly by African Americans. And they figured that wouldn't cause any problem with the population, that they could handle that. And so they outlawed marijuana and put a lot of blacks in jail because of it and so on. Then they were running out of people to throw into jail, so they decided to come up with some other drugs to be prohibited, like cocaine and heroin and so on, which were primarily used by white people. And then they had another whole new population for the prison population. So the government wants to control everything that you do. They don't want you to be free to do anything. They think that you don't have the brains to take care of whatever you need to take care of. And they would rather just push for you to either do it their way or go to jail or die, one way or another. And we go back to Margaret Sanger and the project that she came up with to enforce prohibition, or not prohibition, but abortion on mostly black people, because those were considered to be unworthy subjects, and it would be good to abort the black race out of existence. And so Planned Parenthood became the vehicle to do that. Now, in this latest debacle omnibus bill, Planned Parenthood was given a lot of money. One of the problems with it was, though, that they were not allowed to spend a dime of it for abortions. Now, the bill was 2,200 and some pages long. Nobody read it, including the Democrats, and including a lot of Republicans. And Trump actually got a lot of things in there that he wanted, and he fooled the Democrats. So I think he did a great job with it. Now, in any case, there's a lot of people screaming about it. And if you notice, most of them are establishment people. So anyway, we're going to be back in a little bit, and we'll see you in the last segment. Right?
Yep.
Is that you whistling?
Yeah, that's for a second. Sounds really good though. I listened to a replay the other day of your show. They sound really good.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I have them all saved. I don't know if you want to create a new SoundCloud and we'll just,
Yeah, might as well.
I mean, we can start putting them there if you want to.
Yeah.
I've also been looking at something called TuneIn. TuneIn is a cool platform as a station that I can add and get more visibility to. There's a big network of people,
Ah,
so I might do that too. Got a couple options, you know. Yeah, so when we come back, you'll have till 53. I should put a clock in here, or in the new place. I'll put
Yeah.
a clock up.
so what is it now?
3:43.
Oh, so about,
You'll have about 9 minutes.
okay.
Eight and a half, 9 minutes. Kind of final thought stuff, and you know. The new space is really nice.
Where is it?
It's here. It's just another building over. It's right by the lake. So there's a lake window to the lake, right? It's nice.
Oh,
Yeah. No wires will be anywhere. I just had it painted, so it's all brand new. Feel, look, tile floor, put carpet down, and
no.
I'll have a desk instead of this, there will be a desk, you know, with all this set up, and
Ah.
then this will be separate and easier for you to get in and out of. And
Yeah, good. I used to leave these with Julian.
What's up? Oh, and I didn't know how you wanna, Alice, and I guess we'll talk when we're done. I'll walk you out. I'm curious.
Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
All right, and
Hi, we're back. And give you my final thoughts on where we're going these days and what we need to do. You know, Americans have sat back for years and years and years and allowed the radicals, the bearded, long-haired hippies, and the feminists to take over the government. Now, all of these young radicals in the 60s, or a good portion of them, were well, romanced by the communist system. And they thought that by becoming the leading people in society, that they could wind up with a communist utopia, not only in the United States, but in the world. And they really didn't care about who didn't want to be a slave to the government. They figured that those people could be eliminated. In fact, would have to be eliminated. And they took their signal from the fact that a lot of people just didn't care enough to be involved. About the only thing they did was go out and vote in the presidential elections. They didn't bother to vote in the other elections. They didn't bother to pay attention to what was going on. And we got backed into a corner. And it's, thank God, Hillary did not get elected, because that was the last step to turning this country into a socialist paradise. And I say that paradise with sarcasm. Remember, it took well, let's put it this way. Hitler killed 6 million Jews. Stalin killed God knows how many millions. And Mao killed 60 million people. So dictatorial systems have murdered more than 100 million people over the course of the 20th and 21st century. And they still want to kill more. And if you don't want to get active, if you don't want to get involved, good luck. But those of us who really need to be active and really want to be active are a little bit disturbed with the apathy of the average American. It's as if they don't care what happens to them. They don't care about their children. They don't care about the future or anything like that. All they seem to want to do is do their work, do their school, collect their welfare check, get their pizza, make sure that they see their ball games. And as far as getting active in politics and running the country, that's too much work. And we wonder why our freedoms are going down the tubes. Did you ever have to stand up against some radical who was calling you a racist and you didn't know how to fight back against it? Have you been called a Nazi because you didn't believe in what some teenage liberal was doing, and you voiced a complaint? Well, that's what we're in for if you keep it up. So I'm going to tell you goodbye until next week, and watch for the Chips and Salsa show up next. Okay.
Very good. All right. And